Welcome to another video from fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. In this series, we're inviting Scoutcast regulars to run through their Game Week 1 teams and explain some of their picks. And next up we have Mark. So welcome, Mark. Looking forward to the new season?
Hello, Joe. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very, very excited for Friday night. I don't really like Friday night deadlines, but I just want the season to start now. I think it's been a weird summer for me because I consciously took a break, obviously with the World Cup as well. But the last 2 weeks, I've just been changing my team up time after time after time. And I've come back to a very similar lineup each time. And it's happened again. I made loads of changes last night. And I've ended up back at where I was 2 days ago when we did the Scoutcast. So it's been a very interesting last couple of weeks for me. I can't wait to get started now.
Yeah, so there's been loads of tinkering. All of us have been, the team's changing every day. But the key thing about your team, and this is something that you touched on the Scoutcast as well, is that there's no Kane, there's no Aguero, no Aubameyang. None of these heavy hitters are there. You've just gone, I'm going to say spectacularly light up top. I haven't seen any other teams that are so light in the striker department. So you've got Josh King, Mitrovic of Fulham, Arnautovic of West Ham. None of them are more than 7 million. Why have you decided to opt for that policy, and why particularly these players?
Yeah, I think much of it is, I think looking at the strikers at the moment, so much of it is kind of wait and see. I'm obviously not dismissing Aguero and Aubameyang and Kane as fancy assets. You know how much I'm wedded to Kane. I like Aubameyang as well. Obviously, he produced when he arrived at the Emirates, and we can't doubt that he's going to be right up there alongside Kane and possibly Aguero as the top strikers to own. But I look at it and think, Lacazette is still a factor for Aubameyang. Is Aubameyang going to get pushed out to the left? And also Arsenal's first 2 games are tough. Obviously, Kane is the August thing. There's the World Cup. They've got 4 away fixtures in the first 5. We haven't really seen much of Spurs as a strong team in pre-season, so that's the doubts on Kane. And then with Aguero, yeah, he's the obvious one. Obviously, he impressed in the Community Shield, but with him, I'm still very wary, as I always am, about Jesus, and particularly I also think now that Guardiola may well consider Sterling as a forward, and might be that the 3 of them, even if he plays 2 up front, will be in rotation. And I want to see what happens to the midfield as well, because I still think that I'm going to favour loading up maybe on 2 City midfielders rather than going for Aguero and have a City defender. So my configuration of City players will depend on what I see in the first 2 or 3 game weeks, I think, and try and see what Guardiola is going to do. So all of those things made me think I need more time before I'm willing to throw 11, 12 million on a striker. And then I look at who's got good fixtures day one and who could score goals day one. And I settled on King and Mitrovic as cheap players that I think actually got good Game Week 1 fixtures, are pivotal to their team. And if their team are going to score goals, they're probably going to be amongst the points. And opted for that. It's definitely a wait and see policy. It's not going to be that I'm going to be without an expensive striker all season.
Yeah, so let's put a scenario there. So Aguero, he comes out, scores another brace, and Game Week 1 ends. So you're starting to think, okay, maybe I will get Aguero. Then Game Week 2 comes around, guess what? He scores another brace. And his price is starting to go up by then. So he's starting to get up to the 11. He's looking like he's going to get up, because I know you don't like to miss out on price rises, and you're very conscious of pricing. So by then he could be in danger of being, say, 11.2, 11.3. You can possibly want to get him in, and if you do get him in, how do you get him in? So this would probably take us on to some of your what I call cash cows that you've got spread around. So who do you think of your midfield heavy hitters do you think would be the first one to go, should Aguero just look like he is the must-own player?
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at this and I think that there's 2 areas where I will free up cash. One will probably be Mane to a downgrade. I mean, most people who have got Aguero up front have probably got a 5 million or even a 4-5 midfielder. So that's an obvious route. I can go from Mane to a 4-5 and then upgrade Arnautovic quite easily, or forward Aguero. And if there is a price rise, then I would maybe have to do it in more than 2 moves, and would have to downgrade one of my defenders to another 4 million defender. And we think there's going to be possibly 3 or 4 that are going to hold their start. So it could be that Schiletto or Bednarak or Peltier continue to start for their teams and offer another 4 million option at the back. And considering most of us are going to play 3 at the back most game weeks, I think, to begin with, that's okay as well. So I'm not panicking on that front. The other thing I look at is, Aguero might score heavily in the first 2 game weeks, but then Aubameyang's got good fixtures. And so if he hasn't scored heavily, then perhaps I'll go Aubameyang anyway. Or perhaps Kane is coming into the picture because obviously Spurs' fixtures improve. So even if Aguero flies out the blocks, if he's got 4 goals in the first 2 games, there's probably going to be points in midfield as well. And it might be that I go Sané or I might go De Bruyne because they've been in the points and they've been feeding the assists. So I personally don't think Aguero's going to get 2 goals at Arsenal. That may be completely wrong. I'm hoping that he might get a goal, but then Mitrovic and King might get goals as well. So I'm hoping that Aguero doesn't outscore my strikers heavily in game week 1. But it's game week 2 that's worrying. But of course, for game week 2, we might well see Pep rotate. So that's the thing in the back of my mind.
I mean, the last 2 opening fixtures with Arsenal, something else we spoke about on the Scoutcast, have been 4-3 thrillers. So in one case they conceded 3 goals, in the other case they conceded 4. So there's 7 goals Arsenal have shipped in that time. I mean, I'm more worried about that one to be honest. That's why I've got Aguero in. I just think he's going to come out flying with that. But I mean, looking at some of the stats from last season, minutes per goal, attempts in the box, Aguero, he's top. He's top for all the regulars, even more than Kane. One every 24.6 minutes. Then there's Kane, then Salah, then Morata at 32. Arnautovic, so I was just Arnautovic, good pick I think, because he's a shot every 41.5, which is not bad considering he wasn't up front for a chunk of the season as well. But Josh King's quite low down with 64, so perhaps I'll wait and see with Josh King there. But no, I'm too worried to go without Aguero, but I don't. You do play with a bit more flair than me. I'm a dull manager, so I can see that. So I just want to turn a bit to the defence as well, because there's room for sparing up some cash there as well. Now I noticed you've got Van Dijk there. Now that's interesting, because a lot of people are thinking Robertson, and it's looking like Alexander-Arnold could be ready for game week 1 as well. Now he saves another $1 million as well. But looking at Van Dijk there, I couldn't believe this. Last season, in total, so this includes at Southampton, he had 27 goal attempts. That's fantastic. Out of 25 starts for both his clubs. That's great. And Robertson only 12. But Robertson's more the chances created man, so he's more assists, but obviously get more points for goals. So although Van Dijk didn't score goals, I'm guessing, I mean, looking at all of those stats, you've looked at Van Dijk, you've probably looked at these stats as well, and you're thinking, this guy's going to score and he's going to get me clean sheets and bonus. Is that your rationale there?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the bonus points first, and for BPS per minute, he's dead level with Robertson, so there's no difference there, which surprised me. I thought Robertson would have the edge for crosses, but obviously Van Dijk is a colossus, and it's all those clearances and blocks. And then goal threat, absolutely, you're right. I looked at that, and it's an attempt every 83 minutes, so he's getting an average of an attempt in every game, and I think that I anticipate Liverpool will be stronger next season. I think the goals could be more spread. So I'm not necessarily saying Salah's going to do what he did last season, but I think Liverpool as a force will be even stronger and be challenging City all the way. So I think with Alisson in goal, they're going to be keeping more clean sheets. So having a Liverpool defender, I think, is a must, because I just think at the moment United's defence is difficult to assess. So they're out of the equation. Arsenal, similarly, it's difficult to assess the effect that Emery's going to have and who's going to play. So I think a Liverpool and a City defender is the way to go to start with. And I went Van Dijk because, I think he was very unfortunate not to score last season in the league. And so, it's the whole goals imminent thing, I guess. I think I'm taking a gamble on Van Dijk outscoring Robertson for goals. But I don't think there's much in it. The other factor with Van Dijk is around Champions League games. I know that's a long way off. I don't think I'll need to worry about him. There's no rotation factor with Van Dijk as I see it. I think he's just too important to that defence, a back 4, back 3. Robertson could possibly be rotating Moreno. I don't think that makes sense. I don't think Klopp should do that. But Klopp in the past has surprised us a few times with his team selection. And I think Moreno's still in the equation, so he could take 3 or 4 starts off Robertson over the season. And I just don't want that in the back of my mind. I want to settle on my Liverpool defender.
Another defender you got there, Adam Smith. Now I'm not seeing him in a lot of teams, but I am seeing a few Bournemouth defenders because of their fixtures. Now I was having a look at this search because I've been tempted by a Bournemouth defender, and I've now got a Bournemouth defender in, but it's not Adam Smith. I've gone for Steve Cook because he seemed to be the one that was getting the bonus, and he seems to be the one with goal threat there, and obviously he's nailed on. So why Adam Smith? Sell Adam Smith to me.
Well, I've always liked him. I think he's a very attacking fullback. I think Eddie Howe likes him as well. And I just think that you say Cook's nailed on. I think Simon Francis is still a factor, and he's either going to threaten Smith or he's either going to threaten Cook in some matches. And I think Francis is now seen more perhaps as a centre-back than he is a fullback. So I think that Aki, if he plays back four, which he has done in pre-season, then it's going to be Aki, Cook, Smith and Daniels to start with before the suspension's clear for Rico, who are going to be the back four. But I don't think there's much in it in terms of security of start for Smith and Cook in a back four. And I just like Smith getting forward. The reason why I'm going for Smith for day one is because I think that Bournemouth are going to win that game week one fixture at home to Cardiff. And I think that Cardiff are going to be quite defensive and Smith's going to get forward a lot. And I just think that getting forward down the right, it might be an avenue for some points for me. And if he gets an assist, then he's going to get bonus. That's the thing. A clean sheet for Bournemouth. And if Smith gets anything, it's going to be a bonus for him. But Cook could outscore him. But I think, again, it's a philosophy thing. I like that more attacking promise. And I think Smith has got that. I know you've got the set pieces and Cook goes forward, but I think Cardiff will deal with set pieces. I don't think Cardiff maybe won't deal with the speed and the kind of agility of Bournemouth. I think they're going to be playing around them a lot, and I think Smith's going to be a factor.
Okay, just turning back to your midfield here. So we're looking at Richarlison and Jota there. Jota from Wolves, Richarlison at a new club with Everton. So these are both kind of relatively new positions for themselves. So there's an unknown there. So they could do well, they might not. So if they don't do well, presumably these are the kind of players where they lose value quickly, and the ones that do well around this price range, they shoot up quickly as well. So let's say the worst happens, neither of them do well. Which 6.5 and below players are you looking at possibly to bring in, and who just missed the cut for those positions?
Yeah, I mean, these could change, to be fair. Richarlison's in there mainly because of Everton's fixtures. I've got my doubts about him, but I want to have some cover of Everton. I had looked at Tosin up front, and that he could still come in, perhaps, but it's going to be one of those two. And of the two, I currently favour Richarlison because I just think the money they've put down for him, he's surely got to start. He's good away from home, so he's one of those midfielders that he could deliver home and away for Everton. I mean, we kind of built a profile of him at Watford, and obviously he faded incredibly badly for the second half of the season. I guess we've got to reset that to an extent, and while he did well for Marco Silva away from home, that isn't necessarily going to translate to Everton. So we've got to kind of wipe the slate clean to an extent with him. But what we do know about him is, I think for the money they've paid, he's going to start. And we do know that under Marco Silva, Everton will be attacking. I think that Everton will concede goals, so therefore they're going to have to chase the game in some matches, probably even against Wolves. So I think Richarlison's got points, and we know he has a lot of shots. If you look at expected goals, he's the top midfielder last season for that, I believe, which is ridiculous because he wasn't up there in terms of points, but it's just he had so many chances. He can't finish. We know he's very raw. But he's going to improve as a player because he's very young. And if he improves as a player, you've got to think that finishing is going to be the crucial aspect of his game that will improve. And if that's the case, he's going to be worth 6.5. So that's why I've gone with Richarlison. Jota's more of a risk, definitely, but I do think that he's going to be their key man if they're going to stay up. Everything I've read pre-season that he's been involved in, either assisting or scoring, I think he's that all-round player where he's going to get me, hopefully, 10 goals and 5 or 6 assists, which will pay off the kind of the 6.5 that I'm paying for him. But a lot depends on how he starts and how Wolves start. And if he doesn't fare well, then the potential downgrades. I've looked at someone like Will Hughes, for example, for Watford, who've got good fixtures. He's a player I've always liked. And if I had to downgrade to a midfielder that would be on my bench, then if I'm not going to go a 4-5, someone like Stevens at Brighton or McDonald at Fulham, then I might look at Will Hughes, for example. But I'm hopeful on Jota. I've got high hopes for him.
It's funny you mentioned Will Hughes. He was in my draft for many weeks. It's only recently he's left it, and I do like him as well. I did a bit of research on the stats. Last few weeks of the season at Watford as well. Yeah, and he looked good to me for 5 million. I mean, that's it. I mean, he's not going to pull up trees, but he's gonna get you steady stream of assists. So yeah, no, that sounds a good one.
I had a build only yesterday which had Will Hughes in it, and when I've had Aguero in the team, and take it from me, I've had Aguero in and out of my team all week. Then Hughes has been the player that I brought in for Mane, for example. So it's still 24 hours to go. It could still happen. So Hughes is that player that's on the cusp, if you like, as my budget midfielder.
Okay. The other thing is the way you're set up in game week 1 here. I mean, looking at your bench, it's a good bench. It's a bit too good, actually. Arnautovic there, Mendy, and Wan-Bissaka. I mean, if Wan-Bissaka's going to start, that's a good fixture for him. It's a poor fixture for Arnautovic. Poor fixture defensively for Mendy. But you never know. He could get some assist points there. And Arnautovic, well, we've seen last season he can score against pretty much anyone. Now, for me, the type of manager I am, I look at that and I probably would have put Jota on the bench, or I just would look at the types of players they are, and I just couldn't bench them. I just think they're too good to bench. Do you get that feeling as well? Are you quite comfortable doing that as well, or do you subscribe to the philosophy that some people do? For example, Jay, the Hall of Fame #1, who has said, get as much into your 11, get as much of your budget into your 11 as you can. So yeah,
I definitely agree with that principle over the season, and there's no way I'm going to have players like that on my bench come game week 5 or 6. I can't imagine that'll be the case. But I think game week 1 is different because we've got the prices of these players in front of us, but that isn't necessarily what these players are worth. So you've said in the past that when it comes to picking a captain, sometimes that you always pick a captain based on price, when really, with Vardy and Mahrez and Kane back in the day, when we weren't giving them the captaincy because we had a problem because they were 5 million or 5.5. And that's my view on this at the moment. You look at players like Richarlison and Jota, and you think Mitrovic, and you think, well, they're really cheap, so why are they in my 11 and I've got Arnautovic on the bench? Well, I see the point, but Arnautovic is playing at Anfield against the best home defence of last season. He can score there, of course he can, but I just think that Jota at home to Everton and Richarlison away at Wolves, there's goals in that game. I think for me, I think both teams are going to concede, so I think they're stronger options. And Mitrovic, I just think if Fulham score, he's going to be involved in something. He's just such the figurehead for them. So I'm okay with playing them in game week 1, but absolutely, once the season has taken shape, once the landscape is there, and we've got some data, we've got some information, and we know, is Jota really worth 6.5, or is he an 8 million midfielder? He could be this year's Mahrez, for example. We just don't know yet enough to confidently say it's a mistake to play Jota over Arnautovic. I think that given the fixture, we've got that data to go on. We know that Liverpool away's a tough game, and we know that Everton at home could be a game which Wolves can score in. So we know that much, but we don't really know much about where Arnautovic is going to play. Is he going to play differently under Pellegrini? How are West Ham going to play away from home? We don't know that, and we don't know how confident Wolves are going to be going into the season and how much of an attacking force they are. I'm going to know that in a couple of weeks, and at that point, then what I'm doing would be a mistake. But right now, I think it's difficult to say that it is. So it's just lack of information and data. I've got to take some risk, perhaps, I feel, and because my team has got Salah and it's very much template in many other ways. So this is the acceptable route to taking a risk, and I just love doing that just to make game week 1 a bit more interesting for me.
And just finally, I just want to look at your goalkeepers as well. So you've got the same combination I've got, and lots of other people. You've looked at the fixtures, and you've gone for Foster and Fabianski as a kind of rotating pair there. So just what would be interesting, I think, is just what's your rationale behind this rotating goalkeepers, and why not go for just a set and forget De Gea or Edison or Alisson?
Yeah, again, I've had some builds where I've spent a bit more in goal. I think for me, the two, Alisson and Edison, are the two obvious routes. But for me, I want to leave myself open to maybe even have 3 City attackers. So I don't want to, if I'm going to use a City option in defence, it will be in defence and not in goal, because at least then I might be able to get some bonus points out of it and some attacking points out of it. I don't think Edison's going to get me bonus, and I don't think that he's certainly not going to get me goals and assists. Or maybe he's a good passer of the ball, but I just think having a City defender, if I wasn't going to have 3 City attackers, would be the way to go. Similarly for Liverpool, you look at Robertson and Van Dijk, and pointed out that they've got attacking points in them and bonus points, and I don't think Alisson will bring that. So I think they're out of the equation. I looked at Pickford's to Kellenberg rotation, and I had that in a few builds, but again, I think Everton are going to concede goals early on. I think if they do reinforce the defence, and it looks like they're going to, then they could be worth a look. But again, I'd probably look at Coleman if I was going to go for an Everton defender, because he has that attacking threat. So instead, I look at West Ham and Watford as teams that have defences that don't really offer me attacking potential at a price I want to pay. I could play for Creswell or Fredericks, but I don't think they really warrant the outlay, 5 and 5.5. And Watford don't really have a defender I believe offers an attacking threat yet. So I can invest in those 2 keepers without knowing that there's a defender I'd rather have. And also they're both good shot stoppers. You know Fabianski inside out. You know exactly what he can bring. And I think West Ham will be a bit tighter at the back. I think they'll have more of the ball this season under Pellegrini, and I think he'll do well for me. And I'm obviously that rotation, those fixtures is good. So the goalkeeper has been one position I've hardly changed very much. Everywhere else I've changed shape, formation, personnel, but in goal I'm really happy with that pairing.
Yeah, I mean that's similar to me. Similar thinking there, and I think I might end up sticking with one, because these are both keepers that can do well in tough fixtures because they're good shot stoppers, so they can pick up bonus there. But yeah. For now, Mark, that's absolutely pleasure to speak to you about your team. Hopefully, I think that's probably given lots of people some ideas about their own team. But for now, thanks a lot and good luck for the season, Mark.
Thanks so much, Joe.